Welcome back to our friends of DAZN, here as every single day on DAZN Transfer, our show to tell you absolutely everything on the transfer market, all the updates, all the latest. My phone always here, so get ready also today for all the news, and we will go from Premier League, where there is a lot of movement, from Benjamin Sesko to Brian Bumo, Heung-min Son, and much more, to La Liga, of course, from Nico Williams to some players who could move to Saudi, and so many movements. With me today, Matt Cannon. Matt, how are you?
Very good, always a pleasure, but I'm a little bit more concerned about you. Have you been able to sleep?
I'm okay, yes. I was sleeping quite well, waking up quite early with some updates, but always ready to deliver all the latest.
That is very, very good news. And there is also some news. We talked about the Premier League. Fans of the Premier League are in for a treat today. We're going to talk about lots of names, and the first name is, of course, Florian Verz. Now, there's been a lot of talk about him over the past couple of days or so. How close are we to that famous "here we go"?
Extremely close. I would say that we are almost there, just working on the final details, the two clubs to get it done, but almost there, because today in the morning, new direct contact between Liverpool and Bayer Leverkusen, and the agreement is almost there for a package that is going to be worth more than 130 million euros. So there are some extra add-ons compared to the second proposal rejected by Bayer Leverkusen earlier this week, and now the agreement is almost there. My expectation is now for the two clubs to remain in contact over the weekend. Then Florian Verz will play his final game for this week with the German national team, and then he will be ready to travel for medical tests, contract signing, so it's just a matter of short time, and this club record deal will happen for Liverpool.
Club record deal, huge signing. Liverpool fans should be excited, right? What can they expect from this man?
Extreme quality, I would say. This is top quality
Worth
player.
the money?
Absolutely, I think so. Also because this player was wanted by several clubs. Bayern have been also publicly always saying how much they wanted to bring in Florian Verz, and they were not able to do it because the player really wanted to go to Liverpool. Manchester City were also in the mix, meeting with the player, discussing the project, but then he said, "I'm sorry, but I want to go to Liverpool." And so I think for Liverpool fans this is a fantastic news, to add one player with this quality, and then you have Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, already three top signings, beginning of June, Premier League champions. So the message is very clear, they want more and more, and I think this is a fantastic project, to be honest.
Absolutely, and from Liverpool we are going to move to North London, because the big bombshell news today is that Ange Postecoglou, despite winning the Europa League, will be leaving Spurs. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's quite a shock for some of the players, I can tell you, also internally in the dressing room, and for many fans of Tottenham Hotspur, because the club, as you mentioned today, decided to fire Ange Postecoglou. A strong decision, because it was 17 years waiting for this first trophy. He won it, then in the Premier League was completely different. It was a poor season for Spurs, and so the chairman Daniel Levy this morning informed Ange Postecoglou about his decision to fire him, and so to start a new cycle with a different coach. Postecoglou sent a letter to all the Tottenham fans and players today, also because he was really believing the opportunity to continue this project, to restart with a new season, with new signings. This is not going to happen, so it's over between Spurs and Ange Postecoglou, and now we wait for movements in the next days.
That was exactly my next question. You read my mind. Are there any names that are being whispered, discussed, potential replacements for Postecoglou?
Look, the leading contender in this moment is still fresh news after what happened with Postecoglou, is Thomas Frank, who did an excellent job at Brentford in the recent years. He's the favourite candidate for Tottenham. In this moment, there is already a conversation ongoing with people close to the manager. Then they will have to approach Brentford, and let's see how the conversation will go. Another name, another strong contender is Marco Silva, who also did an excellent job in this case at Fulham in the recent season, and the Portuguese manager would be quite open to this opportunity too. So I think these are the two names. At the moment, if you ask me, I would say Thomas Frank favourite, but for sure for Spurs the decision is going to be early next week.
It's certainly going to be very interesting indeed. We're going to stay in North London, this time talk about a player, Heung-min Son, obviously a Tottenham legend, has done so much for the club. Let's talk about a potential move to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we have these stories because there is a very good connection between the agents of Son and Saudi clubs. So there was some conversation in the recent weeks. There is some interest from Saudi. At the moment, from what I'm hearing, there is still no advanced conversation, no official bid on the table for Tottenham. So it's still early stages of this story, but there is some interest. So let's see what happens there. And also, let's see who's going to be the coach. Because maybe the new manager can say, no, for me, Son is untouchable. I want him to be part of the squad. And so you're going to keep the player. He extended his contract for one more season a few months ago. So I think this is still not a clear situation, but one to watch, because when the Saudi clubs are coming, many things can happen, as we know.
Absolutely, and with 1 year left on his contract, potential cash out, potentially a way of making a little bit of money for Spurs.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But still a big leader in the dressing room, you know, a new coach is coming, so probably you need this sort of players also to restart next season, Champions League football for Spurs. So let's see what they decide, but for sure the interest from Saudi is genuine.
Absolutely, and from the north of London, we're going to go to the north of England, because Manchester City, obviously we know about Rangers, they signed him just the other day, we obviously discussed that here with you. Another name that's been discussed that they're after is Turkey. Now, where are we with that? What's the latest?
Look, also in this case, it's very advanced. I would say it's quite similar to the Florian Verz story with Liverpool. So we are almost there. Still some detail to negotiate between the clubs. Agreement done with the player. I can tell you that Cherki already spoke to Pep Guardiola, so there was this direct conversation also, because Pep wanted to check on the boy how excited he was about this opportunity to go to Man City, and he is absolutely very excited about this chance. And the player is pushing to go as soon as possible. Now there is a negotiation ongoing, because the beginning of the negotiation was something around 22-23 million euros. This was the proposal from Manchester City. Lyon want more than this, want at least 30-35 million euros. So there is a conversation ongoing. My expectation is that over the weekend this is going to get sorted, and then the player early next week will do his medical and will travel with the Man City squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. That's the mission for the boy, who did fantastic also with the national team on his debut, goal assist in 26 minutes. So City are in a rush, and the player too.
Absolutely, and we're going to just move across town, because we're going to talk about Manchester United. We know that they're after several players after a very difficult season, despite the fact that they did, of course, reach the final of the Europa League. One of the players that has been talked about is Mbeumo. Obviously, has had a fantastic season, 20 goals, 8 assists. Is that close? What is the situation with Mbeumo? Is that a realistic possibility?
It's realistic, but it's still not close, in the sense that they made the first proposal. Man United approached Brentford earlier this week with the £45 million plus 10 in loans. The answer from Brentford was very clear: no chance to sell the player for this money, also because Mbeumo did very well this season, as you mentioned. His numbers were excellent. So they always mention the price tag Man United paid for Mateus Cunha, so £62.5 million. Let's say that they started from 70, from what I heard, but for something around 65, 62, this deal could get done. The player wants to go to United. I can tell you that a few days ago there were calls from Arsenal, Newcastle, but the player said, I want to go to Man United, so it's not about Champions League football, it's about the club. He wants to join United, and so now club-to-club conversation ongoing, even today in direct contact, waiting for this second proposal to come.
Absolutely, and we also need to talk about another striker, this time Benjamin Sesko. Now, we've talked about Arsenal over the past couple of days, and they had their eyes on two players. Of course, the first is Benjamin Sesko, the other was Gyökeres. But as far as we understand, Fabrizio Romano, you have to confirm this for us, Sesko, is he a little bit closer?
At the moment, yes. They remain both on the list at Arsenal. So, you know, after what happened also in January when Arsenal were not able to find the striker they really wanted, obviously you keep several options on the list. But at the moment, the most advanced negotiation is the one for Benjamin Sesko. Because yesterday and today, new contacts took place behind the scenes in London between Arsenal and Red Bull Leipzig, and same also with the camp of Benjamin Sesko. Positive contacts from what I'm hearing. So at the beginning of last week, there were some conversations, but the deal was not closed. In this case, they are advancing quite well on both the contract of the player and the transfer fee. So Arsenal are working on this one. Next week could be important. From what I'm hearing, there are already new round of talks scheduled between all parties involved. And Benjamin Sesko is also quite keen on the move. Arsenal already wanted him 1 year ago, then tried in January, and it was impossible to convince Leipzig. Now the deal is really entering into concrete stages. Gyökeres is waiting to see what happens also with Sesko, with other clubs around Europe, and it's going to be an interesting situation to follow.
My next question was going to be about Gyökeres. Of course, there has been a little bit of talk about him potentially linking up with a man he knows very well. Of course, that man is Amorim at Manchester United. Given the implications of the potential move to Arsenal for Sesko, what could that mean for the striker?
Look, for United, it depends on the financial investment they want to make, because the player was, first of all, quite keen on the move before the Europa League final. Then Man United didn't qualify for Champions League football, and so Champions League football is an important point for Gyökeres. But from what I'm hearing, the player is still quite open to assessing all the options on the market, so it's not Champions League or nothing. So Man United would have the chance to go and get the player. I'm told there is a gentleman agreement between Gyökeres agents and Sporting to leave the club for something around 65-70 million euros this summer, so a big opportunity. But United are investing already big money. Mateus Cunha, now there is this negotiation for Mbeumo, then Bruno is not leaving. Bruno was maybe an opportunity to make some money, but a player like Bruno is absolutely crucial for Man United, untouchable, so he's not leaving. And so let's see how much United can invest, and also how much money they can make with players like Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, all these players are available on the market, and we have to follow the situation. We have to follow several situations on the market around Europe, and so we are ready, as always, with our Here We Go-metro. Ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah. I know this is your favorite.
We all love this. This is our favorite section. We absolutely love this. We have to talk about two wingers. I'm not going to get carried away. Two wingers from the same club. The first winger is, of course, Kingsley Kman. Now, over the past couple of days, in fact, yesterday, we talked about Kubo and his potential move to Bayern Munich. Now, this is starting to make a little bit more sense to me because there is talk about Koeman leaving Bayern Munich. We don't know the destination just yet, but tell me a little bit more.
It's an interesting situation, the one of Kingsley Kman, a player who won several titles in his career. It's impossible to count because every single season he's winning. And now he's ready for the next chapter because from what I understand, the player already spoke to the club and the intention is to find a solution and part ways. Already in January, there was an opportunity to go to Saudi. In that case was Al Hilal. Now with Simone Inzaghi coming in, I think Al Hilal will go with a different tactical approach. So might be some different Saudi club to be interested in Kingsley Kman. So I would keep Saudi as an option, England as an option because also his agents have very good connections in England. And then remember that Barcelona are looking for a winger. We know Rashford, Luis Diaz, these are the priority targets. But Hansi Flick knows Koeman very well. In January, he was one of the last-minute options for Barca. Then Ansu Fati decided to stay at the club. Let's see what happens next with King Koeman. At the moment, he's not a priority for Barca, but my percentage is 90% for Koeman to go because this is the intention of the club and the player, you know. And so in this kind of cases, you always find a solution.
Could that be our highest percentage yet?
Probably. Maybe we'll have 100% later.
Possibly. We'll have to look back. Keep an eye on that mobile.
Always.
On that mobile.
Always.
The next player is, of course, another winger from Bayern Munich, Sane.
Yes, then this is another interesting situation because here my percentage is 55% for the possibility of Leroy Sané to leave Bayern this summer. Why 55? Because it's still an open situation. At the moment he's a free agent, so free to decide whatever he wants. Bayern have made a new contract proposal. It was almost accepted 3 weeks ago. Then what happened? That Leroy Sané decided to change his agents, and so the negotiation completely restarted. Now that bid is still on the table. It's on the player. Bayern will not change that proposal. So or the player takes that bid, or he can go wherever he wants. There is strong interest from Saudi and also from Turkey. There is interest, especially from Galatasaray. There is also some call from Fenerbahce. So let's see what happens there. But Leroy Sané could be an interesting name to watch in the next weeks. There was some contact with Arsenal. Also, a player appreciated by some people internally at the club, but from what I'm hearing, still no proposal. Probably Arsenal have different priorities. To touch on all these cases, wingers and not only, at Bayern, we have Mario Ricker, our reporter on Bayern, to tell us absolutely everything about the club.
Hi guys, a lot of things going on in Munich. On my way down to Italy, I heard rumors about Leroy Sané. Now he wants to join Arsenal, but Galatasaray is still in the race and also Bayern wants to extend his contract. On the other hand, with Kingsley Kman, yes, Bayern needs to sell players and Kingsley Kman could join other club and Bayern could make space in terms of salary to go for new players. But sometimes maybe it's like with a good wine. We have to be a little bit patient and wait for the good transfer news.
And so thank you, Mario. Was a good point, that one. As an Italian, I really appreciate that one. So
very interesting.
We will have more to say also on Bayern and not only.
And we have to move on to the next player, of course. Now, this is a player we've been talking about a lot over the past couple of days. You said he could potentially be looking at a Saudi move. He was close potentially to Al Hilal. At least there were negotiations. It now looks that everything has changed.
Yeah, let's see what happens on this one. And we have to be careful with this one because you remember last summer Victor Osimhen didn't make me sleep for the whole summer. Was one of the biggest sagas till September because he joined Galatasaray in September, and now Galatasaray are still in the mix for Victor Osimhen, still trying to break the bank and find the solution to keep the player at the club after he did fantastic this season. So there is a conversation ongoing between Galatasaray and Victor Osimhen. So my percentage is 50%, exactly because there is this possibility to go back to Galatasaray. But let me say that Al Hilal, till the very end, will try to find a deal with the player and then eventually reach an agreement with Napoli. They believe the agreement with Napoli is not going to be a problem. 75 million euros release clause. There is still a bid on the table for 70 million euros, but this depends on the player, what Osimhen wants to do. Go to Saudi, stay at Galatasaray. This is an open story. Yesterday, Al Hilal were very negative about this deal. Today, not pessimistic anymore, and so let's see what happens.
And now we move on to one, and I think we might be able to say the three famous words of Fabrizio Romano. Tell us about it.
And it's about Georgino, which is a here we go for Flamengo. Everything signed for Georgino to leave European football and go back to Brazil. A new Flamengo player on a 3-year deal. He will be at the FIFA Club World Cup. A big opportunity, obviously, for Flamengo, for the player. A negotiation that was discussed already in January. Then Arsenal decided not to let the player leave in the January window because it's still very important for Mikel Arteta. Now the deal was approved. Georgino leaves as a free agent. The fans, as we can see here, very happy with Georgino going back. Experience, quality, this is a really top player for Flamengo. And to understand more on Flamengo situation, on their strategy and how they approach with the signings to the FIFA Club World Cup, we have Gustavo Lopez, our reporter there for the Club World Cup.
Today is a big day for Flamengo ahead of the FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Georgino landed in Flamengo in the early hours of the morning, and he's expected to sign his first contract with Flamengo today. The 33-year-old midfielder will be playing alongside the Brazilian international Gerson and also the Uruguayan Jorge de Arrascaeta, Flamengo's number 10 for this competition. With the recent transfer of Charlie Alcaraz, Flamengo has a lot of money to spend in this transfer window. The targets for Felipe Luis are the attacking midfielder Jorge Carrascal, 27 years old Colombian international who currently plays for Dynamo Moscow, and he also wants another winger to complete his squad ahead of the FIFA Club World Cup 2025.
Thank
well,
you,
people.
Gustavo,
There you have it. The first, here we go.
Yeah.
Live in the flesh, DAZN. What more could you ask
But
for?
we will have much more, so for sure, many in the coming days for sure, so don't worry about it. But also, we have some answers for you with Fabrizio Answers.
Fabrizio,
Yes.
I have two questions as per usual for you today. The first one has to do with Neymar. We're seeing the question just there on your screens. Now he will be a free agent in the upcoming days. Could Neymar leave Santos and play in the Club World Cup?
Look, at the moment, despite the rumors we are having, I'm told that there is no concrete negotiation with any club to go and play the Club World Cup. Then, as you mentioned, it's an open situation, so we have to keep an eye on Ney till the very end. No one expected him to go back to Santos in the January window, and at the end it happened. But as of today, I can guarantee, also speaking with people close to the player, that Ney is still focused on Santos and is not negotiating with any other club. We had some stories also about Barcelona. This is not about the World Cup, but just in general, to go back to Barca. But then probably the injuries of Neymar have changed the story for Barcelona, so no longer a priority despite a fantastic relationship between Neymar and Barca, and so I expect the situation to be quiet. Then, in case it changes, we will be here.
Well, there you have it. And the next question has to do, and you're going to see it on your screens in just a second, has to do with Nico Williams. Now, we're in Spain. Fans in Spain are so desperate to know what is the situation, what is going to happen. Is Nico Williams going to stay at Athletic Club?
Look, this only depends on the player, because at the moment I can guarantee to you that there is no advanced negotiation with any club. So at the moment it's very quiet. Athletic still hope they can extend the contract of Nico maybe later in the summer window. So this really depends on the player. Last summer, you remember, after the fantastic Euros he had, we were all expecting probably Nico to take the opportunity and join another club, and he didn't, because he's very happy at Athletic, loves the club, loves the city, the family, all people there. So this is why he's not in a rush to leave. Then there is a release clause. This extra 50 million euros plus taxes and more. There is the salary, the commission, so it's quite an expensive package for a wonderful player like Nico. What I can tell you is that he's #1 target in England for Chelsea and for Arsenal. They are prepared to do something crazy in terms of financials to get the deal done for Nico, but at the moment they still don't have a green light from the player. So let's see what Nico decides, but at the moment Athletic fans can stay calm.
Well, we will have to keep an eye on that. And to finish off, to wrap up this show, I have something here hidden.
Ooh.
I have the new Real Madrid shirt.
Wow. This is first time I see it.
Show the camera.
Amazing one. amazing one, eh? Looks wonderful.
And this, of course, is the Real Madrid shirt that will be worn by the players in the Club World Cup this coming summer in the United States. There you have it, live in the flesh. It's a gorgeous shirt. And of course, I have to ask you something about, first of all, do you like this shirt?
I love it. I always love this shirt. Total white, I love it.
It's a lovely shirt. Now, in the presentation of this new shirt, you can see the photo on your screens right there. We saw Rodrigo, whose future has been discussed a lot in recent weeks and months. What's your reaction, your immediate reaction to that?
Look, at the moment I can guarantee to you that Rodrigo has not asked to leave Real Madrid. So the only way for Real Madrid to find a solution together with Rodrigo is if Rodrigo one day goes there, speaks to Xabi or whoever at the club and says, I want to go. And this hasn't happened at the moment. So the situation remains quiet. There is interest from England, for sure, especially from Arsenal. Arsenal want to add a top winger this summer. So we said about the striker, but in terms of winger, Nico Williams, Rodrigo, several names on their short list. Then it's not easy because financially I don't think Real Madrid are accepting a normal transfer fee. This must be something close to 100 million euros, that's the expectation. But at the moment it really depends on the boy, and Rodrigo still hasn't asked to leave the club. So let's follow the situation closely because it's still early in the summer window, but interest from England, but no proposal to Real Madrid.
And to wrap up the show, one more name, someone again we've been talking about for over the past couple of days, Mastantuono. What is the situation? How close are we to the here we go?
We are there. Also, it's similar to Verz. So we start with a here we go soon and we close with a here we go soon for Franco Mastantuono. It's almost done, this deal, even more than Florian Verz, because there is an agreement completed with the player, 2031, 6-year contract. Then Real Madrid are now negotiating the payment terms with River Plate, but this is going to be done. It's just a small detail to complete the negotiation. How many years to pay the $45 million for Franco Mastantuono? The player has been crucial, as we've been saying for days here on DAZN Transfer. Paris Saint-Germain were there, advanced talks, then Real Madrid called, travel to Argentina, get the deal done with the player, then get the deal done with the club, and now the player is ready to have his medical next week as Real Madrid player, and so a fantastic talent joining Real Madrid and an excellent addition for the squad already in July, expected to join Real Madrid. And we will tell you more about this and all the other stories here on DAZN Transfer, as every single day till the short transfer window closes. And so thank you, Matt, for being with me.
An absolute pleasure. What a way to end the show.
Yeah, see you these days with all the latest, and thank you. Ciao.